Let's play. Count it off.
Things where like the more options there are for interpretations, the more I stress out about, well, which way do I want to go with it? And for me it's usually not which way do I want to go with it. It's like, well, what's going to work in this moment right now?
Of course, kids, it's called compromise.
Yeah,
you have to compromise. You have to, when you're playing two things with, again, so many interpretations, right? Like how I would interpret it, how you would interpret it, maybe how someone in New York would interpret it, someone in the Midwest would interpret it. I mean, that's the great thing about rudimental drumming in my journey from like doing it on a drum and bugle corps level was the interpretation. I marched the Blue Devils. We were definitely this hybrid of straight and swung. But like in the Midwest with like a Phantom Regiment, they were more like this, like wide open. Sevens were like cha raga, you know, be cha raga rada. They would play that first measure, cha raga rada, real kind of like open. Whereas maybe in the East Coast, like some would play a little bit stiffer, you know, and we might play it in between out here in the West Coast. So that was the fun of playing with different people as I was doing that journey in my younger days. Was being able to try to lock it up with whoever and just listen to whatever somebody played. Oh, that's your style? Let me see if I can match that. You know, that became the game in the parking lot after the shows. How many bring my drum along? Who could I you battle it out with in the parking lot, you know? Good times. Shout out Blue Devils. Your boy, keeping it real.
When you say spacing it out more, it's a combination of the space between the strokes, obviously, but also a volume thing.
Yeah, it's a swelling thing. I think about it as a swell. Cha-ra. I think about the first note not being as loud as the last in the roll, you know? Almost like it pushes. It's you know, it's that thing that you can't really write.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in Brazilian music or any sort of ethnic music, there's a sauce that you just can't write. You can't teach. You just have to hang with somebody who really has that, and then you kind of like go, ooh, let me rub that on me. Get in there. Get in my muscles. So you remember how to do that. But yeah, I think that's the whole thing with this, for my interpretation of all the Wilcoxon stuff and how it came from the sling drum with the calf head to the great jazz drummers that took this information and used it as a soloing device. Every cat, depending on their level of technique or their lack of technique, made it something cool. You know, like if you look at someone like Alan Dawson, like his technique is flawless, or Joe Morello, like flawless. But like you look at Elvin, it's not as flawless, but there's some magic in it. There's something that's like amazing, crazy magic in it. Or maybe Philly's like in between, you know what I mean? Like there's some magic in those guys playing. Or, you know, like a guy like Joe Dukes, or like the lesser known Pete LaRock, you know what I mean? Like lesser known jazz drummers that maybe didn't have the great technique of like the masters like a Max Roach or a Roy Haynes, but, you know, they took it. Ben Riley, you know, like Ben Riley has some dope interpretations of some of this stuff. And what I really hear when I hear it, you know, because I'm studying it like all you guys out there, I'm kind of getting back into it. I'm really taking my past, which is all that rudimental drumming from Blue Devils and North Texas, and going, okay, I know how strict it can be and how perfect it can be, and then kind of going like searching for the guys, not the main guys, not your Tony Williams, or not searching for the lesser known guys. And how did they play that stuff? Because everybody was copying everybody else, because that was the language, right? Like, if Max played melody, well, everyone below him was playing melody. How was their interpretation of that? Philly Joe Jones kind of set the standard for rudimental Wilcoxon in jazz. how did everybody below him that wasn't as famous take that information? And then, you know, like, we've talked about this on the phone, you know, my diving into timbales. And a lot of this language is in timbale solos, because those timbaleros in New York City, especially in New York City in like the 40s, like your Tito Puentes and Humberto Morales, and Michael Yasso, and a lot of guys that were listening to jazz cats, because jazz cats were going to the Palladium to listen to them, and everybody was going back and forth. I believe a lot of this language, as I go through it, I can hear some of the language in some of their solos, phrased differently, but some of the same language. Rigadagat, like a Radamacue, or rigadagaga, rigadagaga. I mean, if you're playing that, rigadagaga, 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 you'd be like rigadagaga, 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 rigadagaga. How they phrased it over clave, I've heard that a billion times in some of the older cat solos. So, you know, to me, it's like it's New York City was like this breeding ground for so much music at that time, from classical cats to jazz cats, and you know, mambo would be that era in the 40s. All those guys kind of were hanging out with each other, so it's all there. It's my interpretation as I come back to it. It's like so many. It's coming in three fronts. It's like following the jazz front, knowing the timbale front, and then this whole rudimental thing from way back when, you know, and how they all kind of go together. It's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm really I'm super stoked you invited me to be a part of this, because it's making me rehash this in a whole different way as we go through it. Super cool. Everybody get hip to Wilcoxon again. It's awesome. I love it.